Hello, it's Darren and all my friends here from BareTalk. Megan, I'm going to ask you a few questions.
You're scaring me when you say that.
I love that I'm scaring you, okay? But let's see, if I said there's a Canadian author who's also a scientist, and I just found out he rides a motorcycle like I do, he might be sitting with us right now. Who's that?
Bob McDonald?
Bob McDonald's here today, ladies and gentlemen. Of course, recipient of numerous awards, all science related. So today we're going to talk science and why that is so important in life. I've got a lot of questions and a lot of things that I think might be answers, but why, if you had to say big picture, why is science important in life? Why would that be, sir?
Because it involves every aspect of our lives. From the moment you wake up in the morning, the clock radio that wakes you up, where did the electricity come from? Where does the radio wave that the announcer is talking on the radio, where does that come from? And you get up and you have a shower, where did the water come from? The heat for the water. You cook, where did your food come from? How did it get to you? You got a hangover because you were partying last night, so you take an aspirin. How does the aspirin find your head? Somebody had to figure that out to solve your headache. Then you drive to work. Where did the energy come from for your vehicle? It goes on and on all day long. Science is in every aspect of our lives, and we know that some of our technology that's come from science is having a negative effect on the planet. We got to deal with it. So we can. Science is also pointing to some important solutions to some of the problems that we're facing right now, and if we have a scientifically literate society, we can make intelligent decisions about the future.
Ooh, I like this. How can we have a scientific literate society? How can we do that?
Well, I think one of the most important things in terms of media is figuring out the difference between science and pseudoscience, because there are a lot of conspiracy theorists out there, climate deniers, creationists, people who are really, really good at communicating, and they've got programs and web pages and publications that look scientific, but they're not really based on good science. So good science is based on evidence, on peer review, experimentation, and publishing, in a good way. So it's knowing the difference between those two, first of all, and then understanding the fundamentals. You don't have to be a scientist, but just understand the fundamentals of things like climate change or energy or the food or the issues, know what a genetically modified organism really is. Instead of just calling it a frankenfood, well, what the heck is it? How does it work? So if you understand the basics, you can deal with the issues, I think, better.
And of course, climate change is one of the big things going on, and we still have people who say, oh, global warming and climate change is not real. What is something that you can still say to people who say, oh, global warming does not exist? It's a myth.
Well, I mean, the Earth has been warming for the last 12,000 years, so it does do that naturally, but we're overdue for an ice age, actually. Warm periods, the Earth has had 5 ice ages, and the warm periods have been about 10,000 years long, and it's been 12,000 years since the last ice age. So we should be going into a warm period, or a colder period, but we're not. And since the Industrial Revolution, you can see the graphs all go up, and it's not just carbon dioxide. It's methane, it's carbon monoxide, all the gases that come out of our gas-burning technology has been going up in the atmosphere, and it doesn't take a rocket science to see that. So, and it's not the actual amount of warming. The Earth has been warmer than this before. In fact, when the dinosaurs were here, the Earth was warmer than it is now. But it's the rate of change. It's changing so fast. We're now doing in decades, which used to take centuries or millennia. And that's the problem. The change is happening so quickly, nature can't adapt to that. So it is real. How many more droughts do we need? How many more times does British Columbia have to burst into flames during the summertime? How many more times do countries like South Africa have to run out of water? Or powerful hurricanes. All the predictions that the scientists have made over the last 30 years are now coming true. It's real, it's here. So let's stop arguing about it and get on with doing something
What do we do about these situations? Yeah.
Well, there's 2 ways. The slow way is from the top down. So you try to get the politicians into it. Well, Canada's actually come a long way in that regard. We used to be in denial. We had a government, the previous government, that was in denial. And now we've signed the Paris Agreement. That's great. But it's slow. That's very, very slow. The greater change is happening from the ground up. The public wants to change. And people are buying green technology and want to recycle and want to have electric cars and all that. So if we can get them into the public eye and get them going, the politicians will recognize that and then give breaks, give tax breaks so that green technology is as cheap as the old stuff and start, stop subsidizing the old technology and put that into research into the new. I see it as evolution. It's not revolution. Revolution is when you polarize it. You got the Greens on one side and you got the evil oil empire on the other, and oh man, it's white hats and black hats and it's fighting. That's not the way to do it. That's not the way to do it. We take what we have and we say, how do we make it better? How do we make it better? How do we clean it up and make it better? Regardless of whether you believe in global warming. Old cars, combustion engines they pollute the air. Okay, so let's make cars that don't pollute. Okay, can we do that? Yeah, the technology is there. Let's just do that for the sake of having a cleaner atmosphere. Evolve the technology. We can do it.
One of the key words that I love that you said is that science is got to be based on evidence. There's proof. There's evidence. It's not a belief. Now, in psychology, we learn that, well, what you believe when you're young, you take those beliefs with you through adulthood, and very often, even when evidence is telling you this belief you had is wrong, because it's a belief, it's really hard to change those beliefs. But here we've got proof, we've got evidence, and people who still won't change their belief because they're stuck on a belief rather than fact. How can we reach out to those people? Because we need all the help we can get here in some of these issues you say we're facing.
Mm-hmm. Well, people can believe whatever they like, and including faith, and I have no trouble with that. But when it comes to change, comes to sensible things that we need to do in the future, you don't have to attack somebody and tell them they're wrong, or they're stupid, or they're ignorant. Just say, look, this is a sensible thing to do. Let's just get on with it, and everybody work together rather than make it confrontational. It's better to work with people than try to fight them. So I think cooperation works better than competition.
Mm-hmm.
Would you also happen to believe that there is perhaps a generational gap? I mean, we live perhaps in the most informed generation at the moment, and that is millennials. We have so much access to information. So do you believe that empowering youth could be one of those ways to shift that discussion?
Of course. Yeah. The youth are the future. The youth are the future. You're the future voters. You're the future business people. You're the future decision makers. And of course we need that. And we're seeing this right now in the United States with gun control. The young people are saying, look, we're marching. We're going to be voting in 2020. Yeah. So you politicians better listen to us now. And that's great. That's absolutely great. So if we can have young people coming out and say, okay, I'm tired of hearing about this climate change stuff, but this is my future you're talking about. I'm already old, man. I don't really need to worry about climate change. So you need to speak up about it, but also use science to point to sensible solutions. Sensible solutions, not radical ones, sensible solutions. And let's just move it on.
And this all comes from passion, like we had previously talked about, these kids who are making a big difference. It's a passion that they're finding that they're now using to do the right thing and to make a difference. And Megan, I was kind of smiling before because I was going to say to you off camera, hey, this is the first week that we didn't talk about gun control. And well, now our special guest, of course, brings it up. And we are like, oh, it's our first week, we're not talking about it. Well, here we go. But it's passion that young people can have.
It's society saying, look, we've had enough of this. Let's move forward and do it. And we've done this before. We've done this with other technology. I mean, look at how much communication technology has changed. Look at how much listening to music. 100 years ago, you had to be in the same room. You could only listen live. Then Edison came up with a wax recorder. It was this cylinder that had a needle and scratched on it. And you could now listen to it at home, but they wore out fast. Then it became a disc, and we had records, and then they wore out. Then we went to tape, reel-to-reel tape, and you could get more. You could record your own, but they were big and bulky. Then we went to microcassettes. Then we went to CDs, then we went to MP3 players, then we went to iPods, and now it's all on your phone with high-definition earbuds, but you're still just listening to music. So the technology improved, right? So let's do that with energy. Let's do it with food production. Let's do it with water. We can do that. Mm-hmm. And not listen to people who say, oh, no, that's going to bankrupt the country. Because every time there's been a change of technology in the past, yes, some people lose their jobs, but a whole bunch of other new jobs come along. And so we can manage our energy and our way of getting through in a sensible way with new jobs. So I really believe that.
Yeah, and speaking too of how important science is in real life combined with the passion, I've been reading through some of your blogs, and I was really excited to see that one, I think that was actually quite recent, that you wrote was about the discovery of the Franklin, which I have been really passionate about, and I see now that you're relating this to science and showing about how this discovery we have to now protect too many people from trying to find this discovery and stealing from it. And this is all science. Like, this is really neat how passion can become involved. And also in the 50s, where they used people who were deaf to help with space discovery, because they have a gift that we don't have, and that's all part of science. That would have made me want to learn more science as a
Yes,
kid.
I would have loved to learn about
isn't that
science
all
more,
these
yeah.
things are fascinating, absolutely fascinating. And speaking of fascinating, you definitely are fascinating, and it's been really nice to have you on our show today. Miguel, thank you so much for joining us all the way from Montreal. Megan, always a pleasure to share the stage with you. This has been Bear Talk. We would like to thank BCIT here in Burnaby. We are at their studio today, and what a beautiful campus. And that really nice construction guy that showed me what building to go to, I will always remember
What a
that
doll.
as well. I know. Oh,
What a
you saw
doll.
him too. I know. He totally is. Thank you for joining us today. For more information about everything and even how we can make a difference in science and find our passion on there, read his blogs. Like, they're absolutely fascinating, and so many things we talk about. This has been Bear Talk, and we will see you next time.